In tonight's headlines, a 58-year-old Hong Konger dies while climbing Mount Fuji in Japan. 62% of primary 6 students were allocated to desired secondary school. And reinforcement efforts began at the sealed dike at Dongting Lake as the second line of defense. A Hong Kong tourist is reportedly dead while climbing the Mount Fuji in Japan last night. According to Japanese media, the 58-year-old man, surnamed Wang, was a civil servant. He started climbing Mount Fuji from the 5th station in Yamanashi Prefecture with his wife yesterday afternoon. Reaching the 8th station with an altitude of over 3,400 meters, he was feeling unwell, then lost consciousness. He was taken to a first aid station where he was pronounced dead by a local doctor. The police is investigating the cause of death. This is the first recorded fatality of a climber on Mount Fuji since the start of the 2024 climbing season. The Hong Kong Immigration Department received requests for help from the families, and the government is in contact with the Commissioner's Office of China's Foreign Ministry and the Chinese Embassy in Japan, following up the incident and providing feasible assistance.
"51,000 primary 6 students received their assigned primary school admission results today. At Yalmachi Catholic Primary School, Hai Wang Road, students waited anxiously for their allocation results. Isaac could not contain his excitement after knowing that he was assigned to King's College, his desired school. Valiant was relieved that he secured his first choice school, even though he admitted that his grades weren't outstanding. Parents were also overjoyed about their children's good results and credited their children for working hard to achieve such results. Some said they could finally get a good night's sleep after restless periods of worrying that their child won't end up in a desired school. The Education Bureau announced that 62% of primary 6 students were allocated to their first choice of secondary school through the central allocation system this year, a 4% drop from last year's 66%. It was also the lowest proportion since 2020. Margaret Chow, the principal of Yalmachi Catholic Primary School, said the lowered rate may come from increased competition from mainland students accepted to local schools under various government talent schemes. Parents also held bigger ambitions when it came to picking top schools for their children. At our school, we have accepted primary 5 students through these schemes, Chow said. As these students also partook in the central allocation system, it naturally increased competition for students looking for a place in secondary school, she explained. Students are required to report to the allocated secondary schools this Thursday or Friday for registration. Those unable to return to their schools for the allocation slip and admission slip in person without notifying the school or the school place's allocation section will be considered as giving up the place allocated. Janice Yu, Cable News. Wrapping up a 3-day visit to Sichuan, Chief Executive John Lee said he had already met with the 2 adult giant pandas, aged 5 to 8, chosen by mainland authorities to be sent to Hong Kong as gifts for celebrating the 27th year of the SAR's return to China.
雄性嘅大熊貓體重大約係120多公斤，動作敏捷。
Speaking to the press, Lee said the male panda weighs about 120 kilograms and is swift and smart, while the female panda weighs 100 kilograms and is soft and cute.
希望真正可以係精壯地如果喺香港會係誕下新一代嘅熊貓咧。
Lee also hoped that a pair of pandas would be able to give birth to pandas in Hong Kong and bring forth joy and warmth to the city. He said the pair of pandas are getting ready at a Dujiangyan base and will soon undergo a 30-day quarantine before leaving for Hong Kong. They will be quarantined for another 30 days to adapt to the local environment before getting set to greet the public. He also revealed that Ocean Park will sign a cooperation contract with the mainland panda research and breeding facility to finalize the details, and the government will try its best to have the pair arrive in Hong Kong by National Day. When asked if Ocean Park will set up a new gallery for both new pandas, Lee said according to previous protocol, each giant panda will have its own gallery. Cultural Chief Kevin Yeung said the theme park will be sending staff to the breeding facility to better understand the giant pandas. The team will also be transporting bamboo gathered in Guangdong or Ocean Park to the pair to let them get used to the food they will be given in Hong Kong. Yeung also revealed that the local tourist spot will also enhance its two facilities for the new pair, such as adding some plants or climbing frames. Cameras may also be installed to share the pandas' activities with the public in real time. Janice Yu, Cable News.
More than 800,000 public housing tenants in the city will face a rent hike of 10% starting next year as proposed by the Housing Authority. If approved, the increases would take effect in October, with a 3-month exemption period for most tenants. Some elderly tenants had expressed concerns that they would struggle to afford the increases. Speaking on a radio program, Housing Secretary Winnie Ho said authorities must strike a balance between public finances and how much public housing tenants can afford to pay in rent. Ho said the public should understand that the rent for public housing is much cheaper than in the private market. While the authorities need to take care of the maintenance of public housing, the rent helps in maintaining financial stability, she said. The housing minister also said poor families can apply for rent assistance that cuts their rent by up to 50%, adding that the government has been paying the rent for those supported by comprehensive social security assistance.
The government is considering bringing down tolls at the Tai Lam Tunnel after taking control of it at the end of May next year. According to a paper released by the Transport Authority, one of the 3 options was to retain the existing fixed toll structure, but significantly lowering the fee for private cars, taxis, and other commercial vehicles, which currently stands at $58 to $45.
利用緊我哋西部嘅通道啦，咁大欖隧道咧不嬲都係一個暢通啦。
Speaking on air this morning, Transport Department Assistant Commissioner Leung Sai-ho says 30% of vehicles that pass through Tai Lam Tunnel every day are logistic vehicles and encourages other logistic vans or trucks from New Territories North to make use of the Tai Lam Tunnel for ensured smooth traffic.
我行去大欖仲要自動獻身去俾錢佢㗎。
But Stanley Tandon Lai Chang, chairman of the Hong Kong Land Transport Council, says it's unlikely for trucks coming from Shenzhen Bay Port to pass through Tai Lam Tunnel, since it is free to pass through Tolo Highway and Tuen Mun Road.
As the final truckload of rocks were dumped into the breach in a dike at Dongting Lake, the 226-meter breach was successfully sealed last night. The sealing will expedite drainage and post-disaster reconstruction. Stretching about 14.3 kilometers between 2 other embankments, it protects over 6,000 hectares of fertile land and the homes of many residents. Meanwhile, reinforcement efforts began at an embankment located approximately 2 kilometers behind the breach dike, serving as the second line of defense. The breach at China's second-largest freshwater lake in the city of Yunyang in Hunan province was caused by floodwaters from torrential rain, with more than 7,000 residents evacuated since the dike burst on Friday afternoon. After insisting that only the Lord Almighty can convince him to quit the re-election bid, U.S. President Joe Biden said on an unscheduled phone interview that he was frustrated by the elites in the Democratic Party who were calling for him to step down from the race.
But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention. The bottom line here is that we're not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere.
One of the allies Biden referred to might include leading House Democrat Adam Smith, who earlier suggested the president should stand aside as soon as possible, and he personally thinks Vice President Kamala Harris would be a much better, stronger candidate. At least other 5 Democratic members of Congress also publicly demanded 81-year-old Biden's withdrawal last week, amid rising concerns about his mental fitness. The New York Times earlier reported that an expert on Parkinson's disease had visited the White House 8 times since last August. However, the White House rejected speculation that Biden was being treated for Parkinson's disease, or he might be suffering from an undisclosed illness. Anna Chen, Cable News.
Amid the intensifying trade dispute between China and several European countries over Chinese-made electric vehicles, mainland's EV giant BYD inked a $1 billion deal with Turkey to open a plant in the country in a move to help it dodge new EU tariffs. According to the Turkish Industry and Technology Ministry, BYD will open a production facility with an annual capacity of 150,000 vehicles, along with a research and development center. The plant is expected to create 5,000 jobs and is slated to commence operation by the end of 2026. The news comes days after the EU slapped additional provisional tariffs of up to 38% on mainland's EVs following an investigation that concluded state subsidies meant they were unfairly undermining European rivals. Under new Turkish regulations on investment incentives, BYD would be able to bypass a new 40% tariff that Turkey imposed on EV imports.